There's something strange about the way most people live their lives. They wake up, go through their daily routine, talk to people, and handle responsibilities. But in the background of their mind, there's always something lurking. Worry, stress, that constant feeling that something could go wrong. And the irony? Most of those fears never even happen. It's almost like the mind is addicted to creating problems that don't exist. Instead of enjoying the present, most people live in a never-ending loop of what-ifs. What if I fail? What if they judge me? What if things go wrong? What if I end up alone? What if I never figure it out? The mind is a powerful thing. It can create entire stories that feel so real that your body reacts to them as if they are happening right now. That's why you feel anxious about a conversation that hasn't even happened yet. That's why you feel drained from worrying about the future, even though you're sitting in a safe, quiet room. Your body doesn't know the difference between a real problem and an imagined one. And that's the biggest trap. Most of the things that steal your peace only exist in your imagination. Think about it. How many times have you stressed over something that never even happened? How many times have you lost sleep over a future problem that never became real? Yet in the moment, it felt so urgent. It felt like you had to think about it. Like if you didn't stress over it, you wouldn't be prepared. But what exactly were you preparing for? Most people think that worrying helps them, that overthinking something will somehow protect them from disappointment. But that's the lie. Worry doesn't protect you, it exhausts you. It keeps your mind trapped in a constant state of fear over things that aren't even happening. It's like carrying an umbrella every single day just in case it rains. But it never does. And instead of just putting it down, you keep carrying it, just in case. The weight isn't necessary, but you carry it anyway. And here's the worst part. Your mind is training itself to live in fear. The more you give in to these thoughts, the more your brain starts believing that everything is a threat, that life is just one long, continuous series of problems, that if you stop worrying, something bad will happen. And that's exactly how most people live. They waste years feeling anxious about things that never happen. They ruin their own peace before anything even goes wrong. They don't realize that most of the suffering isn't coming from life itself. It's coming from the stories they tell themselves. But what if you stopped? What if you stopped solving problems that don't exist? What if you stopped carrying the weight of worries that never become reality? What if you only dealt with problems when they actually happened, instead of living in fear of them? Because here's the truth. If something isn't happening right now, in this moment, then it's just a thought. And thoughts don't have power unless you give it to them. Think about how different your life would feel if you only focused on what was real. If you stopped letting your own mind create suffering that never had to exist in the first place. Imagine the energy you'd get back. Imagine the clarity you'd feel. Imagine how much lighter life would be if you finally stopped worrying about problems that aren't even real. Because most of them aren't. So how do you break the cycle? How do you stop letting your own mind make life harder than it needs to be? First, you need to question your thoughts. Next time you catch yourself worrying, ask, is this happening right now, or am I just imagining it? Is this something I can actually control, or am I just making myself suffer? Is this thought based on facts, or is it just my fear talking? Most of the time you'll realize that you're just playing out a worst-case scenario in your head. And the moment you realize that, you can choose to let it go. This doesn't mean ignoring real problems. It means stopping unnecessary suffering over things that don't exist yet. The second step is learning to trust yourself. Most people don't trust themselves to handle life when it happens. That's why they try to prepare for everything in advance. They feel like if they don't overthink every detail, something bad will happen. But you don't need to live that way. You don't need to worry about things before they even come. If a challenge happens, you will handle it in the moment. You don't need to live through it twice. This is what mentally strong people do differently. They don't waste energy on potential problems. They stay focused on what's real. If something happens, they deal with it. But they don't let their own thoughts make life harder than it already is. They control their focus. They don't let fear steal their time. They refuse to suffer over things that only exist in their minds. And this is what you need to start doing. You've already spent enough of your life carrying unnecessary stress. You've already wasted too many days lost in imaginary problems. You've already let your mind control you for long enough. It's time to let go. If something isn't happening right now, in this moment, then it doesn't deserve your energy. It doesn't deserve your time. It doesn't deserve your peace. Your life is too short to be spent worrying about things that aren't even real. Let go of the stress that isn't yours to carry. Stop preparing for disasters that will never come. Stop living in fear of things that may never happen. Because the moment you stop giving power to imaginary problems, you finally get to experience real peace. There's something strange about the way the human mind works. You could be sitting in a quiet room, completely safe with nothing threatening you, yet inside, your thoughts are creating stress about things that don't even exist. You feel the weight of problems that aren't real. You start worrying about things that might happen. You start stressing about situations that could go wrong. You start playing out worst-case scenarios that only exist inside your head. And somehow they feel real. Your body reacts, your heart beats faster, your chest gets tight, you feel restless, anxious, overwhelmed. But here's the truth. Most of these problems, they don't even exist. They are nothing but thoughts, nothing but imagined fears, nothing but mental illusions that trick you into suffering. The problem isn't life itself. It's that most people don't realize how much of their stress is self-created. The mind is the enemy, not reality. How many times have you overthought something for hours, only for nothing bad to actually happen? How many times have you lost sleep worrying about a future situation, only for it to turn out completely fine? How many times have you carried anxiety about something that never even became a problem? Think about it. Be honest. Most of your suffering isn't coming from the present moment. It's coming from the stories your mind tells you. And yet, people keep feeding these stories. They live inside their own mental prison, constantly reacting to problems that don't exist. They make themselves miserable. But why does the mind do this? Why does it create problems where there are none? It all comes down to survival. Your brain evolved to detect threats. But in today's world, there aren't many real ones. So instead, it looks for imaginary threats to keep itself busy. It finds something to worry about, something to stress over, something to fix, even when there's nothing wrong. That's why your mind keeps creating problems that don't exist. It doesn't know how to be at peace. It wants to solve something, even if there's nothing to solve. But here's where it gets dangerous. If you don't control this mental habit, it will control you. You will spend your life being drained by things that were never real. This is why so many people feel stuck, anxious, and overwhelmed. They are constantly reacting to a false reality inside their head. And unless you break free from this habit, it will never stop. So, how do you stop? How do you stop suffering over problems that don't exist? Realize that worry is a choice. Most people think worry just happens, but it doesn't. Worry is a habit, a learned response, a mental addiction. Every time you choose to overthink something, you strengthen this habit. You teach your brain to live in a state of constant stress over things that aren't real. But the moment you recognize this, you gain power over it. You realize this stress is self-created. This fear is imaginary. This problem doesn't actually exist. And once you see this, you can choose not to react. This is the first step to freedom. Learn to separate thought from reality. Just because something feels real doesn't mean it is real. Your brain doesn't know the difference between an imagined problem and a real one. That's why when you think about an embarrassing situation that hasn't happened, your body still reacts with stress and anxiety. But you have to stop trusting every thought you have. You have to ask yourself, is this happening right now, or am I just imagining it? Is this a real problem, or is it just fear talking? Do I actually need to deal with this, or can I just let it go? Most of the time, the answer is it's not real. And when you see that, the stress disappears. Accept that not everything needs to be controlled. Worry comes from a fear of uncertainty. People want to know what's going to happen next, so they try to mentally prepare for every possible outcome. But here's the truth. Life is unpredictable. You will never control everything. You will never be able to predict the future. And that's okay. Your job isn't to control life. Your job is to handle what comes when it comes and let go of everything else. The more you accept uncertainty, the more peace you will feel. Take back control of your focus. If you constantly focus on imaginary problems, you will feel drained, anxious, and stuck. But if you train yourself to focus on what's real, your energy shifts. You feel lighter. You feel calmer. You feel free. Ask yourself, what is actually happening right now? What in my life is good? What can I be grateful for in this moment? The more you focus on reality, the less power your thoughts will have over you. And over time, you break the cycle completely. Train your mind to let go. Most people hold on to their worries like they're important. They think, if I let go, I won't be prepared. They think, if I stop caring, something bad will happen. They think, if I don't stress about it, I'll lose control. But that's the lie. The truth is, letting go is the most powerful thing you can do, because when you let go, you gain peace. When you let go, you gain mental clarity. When you let go, you stop carrying problems that aren't even real. Imagine waking up and not feeling stressed over things that never happen. Imagine going through your day without being weighed down by imaginary problems. Imagine living a life where your mind works for you, not against you. That's the freedom that comes when you stop letting your thoughts control you. You've already wasted enough of your life reacting to things that never happened. You've already lost enough time overthinking problems that didn't even exist. It's time to wake up. If a problem isn't happening right now, it doesn't exist. And if it doesn't exist, it doesn't deserve your energy. Let go of the thoughts that don't serve you. Let go of the stress that was never real. Let go of the things that your mind created just to keep itself busy. Because the moment you do, you get your peace back.